screen and let me know your queries.
Yeah. So basically, I got chance to work on the RP challenges last weekend. So, uh, what I basically observe in that RP challenge, basically field name is being continuously changed. Okay. So my question to you is, let's say if we use type into our set text, right? Uh, in the workflow. So I think we can't basically use multiple set text to for each and every field, right? So do we have any some other other way to basically, let's say we can take the array of the label name, right?
So
And
every
work
time it
basically.
is keep on changing, right? Like you cannot do that. So when you are saying like like for suppose for the first name you are saying like multiple names or like each like I could not able to understand your question. Can you share your screen and explain me?
Yeah, sure. Can you please start recording?
Recording was already started.
Okay. Let me share my screen. Let me open the. Give me a minute, okay? I will share my screen.
Yeah, sure.
I think you can see my screen, right, Path? Hello.
Yes, I
Am I
can see your
audible?
screen. I can see your
Okay.
screen.
So let's say if whenever I press the refresh button, right? So
Mhm.
every time basically fail name is being changed right here. So my question to you is, let's say
Field
if
name
we
is not changing, right? The name is same all the time. The
so
position might be changing.
sorry, label name, right? So basically label name is, oh sorry, position basically, yes, correct, position is got changed every time. So my question to you is, in the workflow basically, I think it is not basically a best practice to take multiple type into a set text, right? To for any field, right? So do we have any other way to, let's say if we take
See,
all
we are
the
not. It is not necessary to have multiple, right? Because you are not sure whether in which position you are going to get this company name in the next refresh. So that is not going to work out. But if you see my previous video, right, when I am explaining about the RPA challenge and asked you to work on it, I gave a way to do that. So anyhow, that is not a challenge. Let me share my screen and let me explain again.
sure.
And in meanwhile, like let me see if we have any questions from Ravindra or Srikant on this. Ravindra?
Yes, Father.
Yeah. So do you have any questions on this RPA challenge or like did you completed it?
I already completed. I don't have any challenge in this.
Can you share your screen and show execute and show us?
I have joined through phone. That's why unable to share the screen.
Fine. Let me share my screen. Because can you see my screen?
Yeah, I can see, yeah.
So we'll go with the RPA challenge. This one, right? Every time it just keep on changing. Okay, here what I will do is first name. So first name we want to type it as Spark to do. Let me run this flow. And if I refresh it, the first name position is changing to this place. If I run, now it will put the data into company name, I guess. If not, it will give me an error. If not, it will give me an error.
My question to you is basically we have to use multiple type into to basically to put the data in the particular field, right? Let's say we have company name, last name.
No, it is not required. Let me explain you that. We are going to get an error for sure. See here, if you right click and if you see on the inspect, right, it got failed. If you inspect, right, here you have an element. And if you go up, right, you have an element which is the combination of these two, right? The highlightation.
Correct.
See the highlight. If I go here, it is complete field, like along with the label. So if you see here, right, the value we can see the first name. See, irrespective of the position, we'll get the first name. If I refresh, if you see this IDs, right, IDs will be keep on changing. Okay. Let me close this, and the same we can spy from here as well. Click on edit selector and click on open UI Explorer.
Yes, correct.
And we need to identify that field again. And here we doesn't want ID because it will change if we refresh. Okay. And if I go out, if I come here, so I can take this visible inner text and inner text, and I'll remove the CSS tag.
Correct.
And from here, I want to remove this ID. Click on validate. It is got validated. I didn't find any IDX, which means my selector will be valid. And let me, instead of 1, right, let me put an asterisk because I don't want to keep numbers. Click on OK. Let me refresh this. Now my first name went to this place, right? It should enter into first name only, irrespective of its position. So let me run and see. It written on the first name. Let me refresh again. The first name came to the first place. Let me run the file. It is writing in the first name only all the time.
Correct.
Which means we are tuning the selector to make it identify irrespective of its position. So we need to tune the selector. That is the advantage of UI Explorer as well. Whatever you have in the UI Explorer, right? We opened everything in the UI Explorer, like edit selector, and we went into open in UI Explorer. This UI Explorer is going to give you a tree structure view of your UI elements. So that, like, because UI elements are elements inside an element. See, here we have a form, and inside the form we have these fields and the button, and inside that we have these fields and this button separate elements, and inside that we have this complete role in the company and the field and everything one, and inside that we have this label separate and we have this field separate. So here the elements will be kind of elements inside an element. Right? Hello?
Yeah. So path, see, we have a multiple field, right? So now what we have to do, we have to take the type into again to basically
We need to go for type
understand-
into again for a different field, and you
Okay.
will identify last name now. Last name, and we'll go to the edit selector. So we don't want to have this name because this will keep on changing. So we'll click on Open UI Explorer. In the similar way, we'll select this, and we'll have this last name. We'll remove the CSS, and we will remove the name or ID from here because it will change. Now we didn't find any IDX.
Yeah. But in that case, basically our code looks like a clumsy, right? So let's say if we use, let's say in some other basically portal, if we have a 20 field, right? So again, we have to take type into, right? From the 20 times,
Yes.
right?
See, in case if you need to perform a multiple operations on the same web form or a web page, we need to have those many activities for sure.
Okay.
Because you are trying to tag the selector, we doesn't want to change the selector, and it is the correct approach only.
Mhm.
So let me refresh. The first name and the last name positions are changing. Now let us run. Yeah. So that is expected.
Okay. I thought we have some other way to basically avoid that multiple type into in our code, because otherwise
we
let's
need
say
to have
if we
multiple
use
actions.
multiple type into, then our code looks like a clumsy code, right?
No,
I think,
no.
and that is not
See,
the best
in case
approach
if you are
to
not using, in that way, right? The other person who will be looking into your code will not understand on top of which activity you are trying to do, on top of which element you are trying to do the actions. So it should give us a clear picture, and even we need to rename this as well.
Okay.
Type
Okay.
into
Got it.
first name, last name. So we need to have this naming convention also, so that like we will get to know where actually we are typing this value by looking at the name itself. Here also attach browser RPA challenge. So we need to make rename of all the activities so that we will easily identify what actually we are trying to do on top of it.
Okay. Understood. Understood. Yeah.
Parth, one question. Can you hear me,
Yes.
Satish?
Okay, Satish. Yeah.
So my question is, I can see there's a value or the first name, last name is there, right? But my question is, if in case there's a dynamic ID only, there's no identifier or no locator, right? This is actually a in general kind of UI which I mean generally you create nowadays. So how we deal those things, because if you see I'm working on Salesforce side. Salesforce, there's no name or something like that. There's always be a dynamic ID. So we generally use XPath or CSS selector, such kind of thing. So then that is also possible to achieve here.
Yeah. See, irrespective, right? Like you can see it's not only name. Let me open this here. Explorer. If I indicate on something, right? I can spy the complete tree structure. We can use the XPath also, right here. We can see, we can
Okay.
select like whatever you think the dynamic one is for you, and you can have the CSS selector also. It's not like we doesn't want to use the CSS selector. Even in SFDC, right? I am using the CSS selector.
Okay.
Also, in case there will be some scenarios. Let me go to the web. There will be some scenarios. You won't even find any selector of it, right? There will be some scenarios like let me one thing type mouse. Let me go to the click relative. So it will click and then you can directly use the type into, because type into always does not require the selector. And figure out some multiple ways. And let me go here, last name, right? And let me comment this out above one. And whatever we have in the below, right? Let me run this and see. Let us refresh this again. Position is already got changed to the top. It's not doing the click activity. You do that. You do one thing. We have one more activity, anchor base. So what it will do is, I never used the anchor base any time, because majority of the times I'll get it, the selectors. Refresh this. Now my phone number is here. See this. So you can use the anchor base also, which means in case if you are not finding any stable selector for an element where you want to perform the operations, and you can identify a stable selector, and with respect to that, it will do the operations. Which means here what we are saying is, like, my stable element is this, and I want to put the data below that. Now we didn't modify any of our selectors, right? Let us refresh. Now the phone number went above. Let me run this. So there is an anchor base activity, which means it will look for a stable element, and with reference to that, it will perform the operation. Got it, guys?
Yeah.
Yes, Parth, yes.
In case if you are not finding a stable element, and if you find some stable element, and remember one thing, always the reference position should be always same with respect to this label, the field value. In case if that is changing, then we cannot do anything. For example, I can do is, I'll indicate on the screen here. Here the reference position will keep on changing, right? Phone number, it will not be all the times the same place. Let me run for now. Because when we identified, right, it was at that particular position. Let me do one thing. Let me identify like this, and let me run this now. Now it will write in the phone number placed. One second. Let me refresh this page. Type into find element. Here is the phone number. Here is the phone number. Run this. Okay, it is going for the nearest field. Refresh this. It will go to the nearest field again. It will go to the role in company now. And let me change this to phone number. Refresh this. So we can leverage this. See, the combination what you want to do is all depends on it will completely depends on like the different ways we are exploring to do our automation. And forget about this and let me do one, because now you are getting almost all the stable selectors, and modern design concept will automatically identify these relative positions and all that. We will look into it. And let us do one thing. Let us identify all the fields. Okay. Type into holding company, edit selector, go to UI. I'm just taking all the things.
So Parth, is it mandatory that our selector needs to validate every time? Let's say in the
If you
in the group
modify
check.
something, if you modified something, then we need to click on validate. If not, it is not required.
Okay.
Again, I opened, right? But it is already validated. I'm not changing anything, so it is not required. I can click on cancel. What else I left? We had role, we have phone number. We need to go for the email, right? Email and address. Because if you modify a minor thing in the selector also, you need to click on validate for sure. But it is up to us. Even without validating also, we can directly click on save. But you will not get to know whether it is a valid or not. Again, you need to open and see. So let me do one thing. I'll check all the simulate properties to simulate type to true. What I will do is I will go to the selectors. I'll go to UI automation classic, keyboard interactions, simulate type to true, empty field to true. Okay, and let me run this file. So if you see, right, everything is populating one after the other. Correct? Let me refresh this. What I will do is I'll take one parallel activity. Inside that, I'll just move all these activities. So all my activities, type into activities are inside my parallel activity. And let me run now. See the speed. Right? See, this is an example, but this is not the actual purpose of the parallel activity. The parallel activity purpose is in case if we want to perform multiple actions in parallel. In that case, we will be using it. The reason is why we generally use this. See, when we remember, right? In use case, every time we are using element exist activity to just to make sure that we are in the desired page or not, right? Whether the application is loaded to that particular page or not. Just give me a moment, guys. Give me a moment. Yeah, sorry. So all the time we will be using element exist activity, right? So in case if the let me come here. Let's take a scenario. There is a web application where robot needs to log in, and there can be a possibility of below fields scenarios. One is login successful and the home page loaded. Login failed due to invalid credentials. Login will continue, but application pops up with password reset. Login failed due to user lock. Due to user will be locked in case if you try with the same credentials for multiple times, right? More than 3 to 4 times, then it will be locked. So these 4 scenarios can happen. And in each of the scenario, we may need to take a different action, right? Not the same action. So in that case, if we can identify these 4 elements, right? So let me complete the question. What is the best approach to handle and continue execution? So this will be your one of the question. This is the scenario, and this will be your one of the interview questions. See, four element exists is in a sequential order. Not the right way to handle this. The reason is you need to wait 4 multiplied by 30 seconds. Or else what you can say is, because one element is available, either of these 4, one is available for you, right? So 3 multiplied by 30 seconds plus 5 seconds, you can say. Going to be your 95 seconds of time you are waiting for that to identify in which state we are, in which phase we are. The robot is going to take you almost more than 1.5 minutes. So the better approach.
Part 5 seconds is for what?
See, we have 4 element exists, right? 3 is default time is 30 seconds, and another is like it will take like by default 2 seconds of
Okay.
delay before will be available there, and it will just look for the element. That actions will be there, right? This is an assumption. Like you can keep just 2 seconds also, because 2 seconds is delay before for all the UI element activities. That is the default. Even if you take this also 90 seconds, with this almost like 1.5 minutes, right? So waiting just to identify in which screen we are is not the right approach. So the better approaches, there will be 2 approaches. And generally, how I generally explain this answer, right? Initially, I used parallel activity, and I kept all these 4 element exist inside a parallel activity. Okay. And my wait time is reduced to 30 seconds from 90 seconds, right? Because it will wait for 30 seconds, because it will wait for all the actions, whatever we have inside our parallel activity to be completed, right? And after parallel activity, used if conditions to check which phase is found and invoked appropriate actions. This is what actually I have done, but my architect suggested me to use if activity, as this parallel activity is waiting for 30 seconds. Pick activity will not wait for other element exists. Or all the screens will not wait if all the screens not found or found, it will automatically invokes the required actions based on the screen available. This avoids conditions checking and also 30 seconds delay time. So this was the answer which I generally give to in an interview, like if someone asks me, because this question will be asked and I'll give in this way, and let us see that, let us experience that in reality. So what I will do is I'll just do one thing. Let me take everything outside of.
So path, it means basically parallel activity is using static method and the big activity is using the dynamic method, right?
Yes.
There we have to wait for 30 seconds.
So let us do one thing. This is one application we have. Let me go to the form. Research, extraction. Let us see whatever we have. Let us see. This is forms which we already have. And see, this is automation challenge, right? And this is node, and this is invoice stock market. Okay. So we have 4 pages, right? And let me do one thing. Create a new sequence. I'm not going to perform anything on any of the screens, but I just want to show you a message box which page was open. Okay, we'll close all these things and we'll see which page was open. Okay, element exists. Submit button is available or not. We'll take one more element exists and we'll take let us not take submit button, we'll take the download access. Let's go to this automation challenge. We click on, we search for what? It's an awesome. Download examples. Yes, we are like we'll take this table. RB someone will take this add to wishes. So for everything again we need to create a variable. Here it will be RPA form challenge. This will be shortest path. We invoice use case. This will be stock market. So we have all this. Now we need to put an if condition. RPA form challenge. Then we want to have a message box. And let us have one more. What is the second one? Shortest path. Invoice use case. Okay. So let us run this flow. We close everything. I'll keep only this form. I'll run this. So we should get this forms fell in the message box. Nine, three. Now we are at 15. Let us see. So now we got the RPA forms. And how much time it took? 1 hour 33 seconds, which means 93 seconds of your execution time. And let me use a parallel activity here. Push all this. We kept all this code inside of our parallel activity, and let us run this file. You got it. And how much time? This is 32 seconds. So it waited for 30 seconds only. And let us do one thing. Peak or a pick branch. The trigger is more, right? Right. So run this. See how instant it is. It is not even waiting, right? And let me do one thing. Let me go to the shortest path and I'll close this form. Shortest path. See how instant it is executing your flow based on the element available. So is this answer good enough when the question is asked in this way? And one more question which can come across this, around this. To come here. Pick or a pick branch activity. Or else they can ask explain or what is the importance. So either of these two can be come into the picture. So you can give an example of the same. Like when you use the parallel activity, it will wait for all the actions to be completed. Whereas a pick branch, it will go with the same screen, whatever the available screen is available. Like you can just remove these points. These points we will be generally adding in an interview question just to say that we are initially we thought of one thing and we learned from a different person as part of our journey. Just to project that, we will be writing this. In interview, always we should not be in such a way that I explored everything, I spent time. It should not be in that way. We should say like couple of things we explored, couple of things we learned from the others. Okay, here the parallel activity. We execute sequences placed inside of the in parallel. Okay, so the branch will execute the flow if the activity will have the branch activity in parallel placed inside and branch will be executed based on the trigger. So till now I didn't experience one thing. Let us do one thing. We'll keep these two open. Okay. When two are open, it is giving. But if we go here, the two will be executed. It should show both. Oops. arms challenge, shortest path. So this is giving you both. Both are open. But generally we will not use in both the scenarios, right? We'll be using only like having that like only one is open. So based on the use case, we can use that particular activities. So are we clear about this? Parallel and pick branch activity, pick activities.
Yes, Path.
So this is also a scenario based question, okay? Next, can someone tell me this question? Let me do one thing. Let me write this as a question. Guys, difference between the element exists and find element.
So I think basically in element exist, we can check the element of basically multiple portal as well, right? Let's say if we open 5 portal, right, different portal. So element exist, we can check the whether that particular element exists in that portal or not.
Then find element.
And find element is basically it's a through which basically we can identify particular level of that field.
Both are same.
Whether that element.
No, both
Okay.
are. In my view, both are same.
Find element, I think so, will give a Boolean value. Find exist. Sorry, element exist. I think.
Yes. Element exists returns Boolean value. The element is available to, and if element is not found, give false. Element exists will look for an element. Based on the selector provided. Based on which we can take the action. Then the next actions to be performed. Find element. Look for the element based on selector. Provided returns UI element object if the element is found. If the element is not found, will go and the next actions will not be executed. Which can be later used in any of UI activities. There, guys? Any questions? Other information does PDD and STD will have. Does not take question into this. We will not take this now. We'll look for that later. And we covered the variables. We covered the UI automations. Let us straight towards the UI, and we'll cover these things in the later stage also. What are wildcards in the what are the wildcards? Asterisk and question mark. Replace 0 or more characters. Only one character. This is one more question. What are the different input methods? Called simulate type or simulate click and Windows messages. We need to explain these as well. And what else do we have? The questions, what we can expect from the UI automation perspective. can we make selector dynamic? We can fine tune the selectors introducing wildcards, and we can make the selector dynamic by passing variables or arguments to selectors. What else they can ask? Is the purpose of UI Explorer. Explorer is used to tie the UI elements and tune the selector to be used inside of our UI activities. So there will be one question, guys, like because we will go with an experience, right? What are the challenges you faced in any of your projects, right?
This is basically frequently asked question in UiPath interview, every interview.
So we need to cook up some story. And in terms of UI automation, right? We'll cook up one story here now. And as we go, right, like for wherever we can see the potential challenges. In all the scenarios, we will come up with this challenge names and all, so that like the team, like we can just choose whatever you want to specify. When I'm working on Oracle e-business suite application, as it is combination of Java forms, and it's hard to identify the selectors. To identify the selectors on the form which we are working, we need to drag out from the existing forms. See, how it will look like is, it will be like form on top of a form and all. So we need to drag that to a neat place, existing, where we will not have any form behind it. And only we could able to identify. Then only we can identify selector. And the other thing is, In development on the studio, we directly install the Java Bridge with a pop-up, and once it's moved to production QA, you can say QA, it started failing, and then we installed the Java Bridge to command prompt. And also, when we are trying to input the information multiple lines to the form, the selector found with IDX, which is not a good practice to use. But we don't have any alternative. So we done a regression testing on top of testing, just to make sure the process is not failing because of IDX. That this worked. We used. So we can use any of these 3 points. So this is one of the most commonly asked questions. And no, it is not like only for this UiPath. It is for anything, for any interview, right? They will ask you this question just to like we should not say that like we didn't face any issues, which means like you didn't work on any of the project, because in any of the projects, right, we will face some or the other challenge. This is one scenario of the project, and why I taken this Oracle e-business suite is like as part of our real time also we are going to do on different ERP application, but we cannot say that the application what we used, right? So whatever we are going to perform on a different application, right, we will just link that to the e-business suite. We'll say that we worked on this only, because invoice processing and accounts payable, right, that we will be having this as a backend. So these are the most big questions like which we should everyone remember, or like to have in our mind like before we go for an interview. This is from the side of the UI automation, and we have like the modern design concepts, and on top of that, like again we are going to have a couple of more things. So if everyone is clear till this place, or did I like if you know something that which I missed to update here in the questions, please let me know. Don't have any questions, then we have you gone through the videos all, and like are you ready and you're up to the speed?
Maximum I've done that.
Yeah. So do you have any questions or anything?
I mean, I'm just noting down a couple of things because I'm doing some random, sampling and all this. So I'll come back to you on this one.
Sure. You have something, right? Like if you want to ask, let me know.
Sure.
Run parallel with different browsers. Yeah, you can use your parallel activity and you can run that. You can give it a try. For sure, Satish. Just you need to have these attached browsers in different like in your parallel and you can run it. But make sure that like you're not using the default methods. You use the send Windows message or simulate type so that like it will not fail. But it is not a good practice to do that. I'm not sure whether you are going to get it properly or not. Do one thing. Let me copy from here. Okay, guys. Only for Akash it was fair. But I shared in the channel, right? So I think it will be good enough. Okay, guys, I'll share this recording.